Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast. And you are with me, Simone Melisses. And I'll show you before the end of the podcast where I am. I'm actually in Texas at a ranch. It's, I think it's probably as hot as hell. I know they say hotter than hell, but I think it's as hot as hell. But it's so beautiful. We've got a 7-day event here at Blyberville at Gary Douglas and Dane Here's ranch, and I'm staying about 30 minutes away from there on another little ranch, and we've got cows, and I've fallen in love with cows. Actually, there's my admitting something. I've fallen in love with cows while I'm here. They're just so goddamn cute. And every morning I like going running, and I actually like running in the heat. And I went to run down on the main road the other day, and I walked, ran a little bit, and then went, this might not be my brightest choice because there's like trucks going past and everything. So instead, I've been running up and down our driveway, which is a decent size. It's not just a normal average household driveway. And I've been running up and down the driveway. And as you do, there's a paddock on my right filled with cows. And I swear to God, the cows just look at me going, you're insane. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I am, but but I'm loving it. So I'm in hot Texas, and Justine, I have here as my guest today, Justine McKell, who has been a friend of mine for, God, it feels like forever, quite some time, and is also our PR agent in Access and with myself as well. And a woman with many, many hands in many, many baskets is what I'm going to say. So Justine, welcome.
Thank you so much for me being on your show. Also, it was funny when you were talking about the heat. I think it was Dubai. I was with you and you decided to go for a run in the middle of the desert. You do like that heat.
I know. Everyone always goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, running in the heat. It's like, there does get a point where my body goes, that's it, enough. It's too hot now. But yes, I like it. Not long before I left home, I was running in the heat, and a mutual friend of ours, Amanda, saw me. She was driving and she stopped and she went, are you okay? She's like, do you want a lift home? And I'm like, no, I'm deliberately running in the heat. So anyway, we all have our little idiosyncrasies is how I like to look at it.
Really like a bottle of water with you. I always remember that one too.
So Justine, you're in Chattanooga at the moment, and apparently it's very hot there as well. So we're having lots of heat here in America, and there is lots of heat in relationship. Let's just put it like that. So I asked you on here today if you would talk about relationships, because I've known you for quite some time. You're now with your amazing partner, James, and you have 2 kids. How old are your kids now, actually?
They're 2 and Jagger just turned 5
Wow.
On the weekend. Yeah.
Okay, 2 and 5. But when I met you, you were like, I want to say forever single is the way I would look at it. And I mean that in like, there's some women I find when I meet them, it's like they're always on this, like, how do I find a man? Where's my partner? I want to get married. I want to da 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 da. And they're always looking for that. I, weirdly enough, I never looked at relationship as something I desired. In truth, I actually did the antithesis of that. I was like, I'm not doing relationship. And then, I eventually changed my point of view around that, because I realized that was just as much as a conclusion or locking me up just as much as I see someone who thinks they need a relationship. And so then I went, okay, I'm going to change my point of view here. And what if I was open to a relationship? And what if I could create something that was entirely different? So, since then, that's quite some time ago, I've been through different aspects of relationship in many different ways. And now, like I said, you're, with your partner, you've got 2 kids, etc. But I think you are funny. I think you're hilarious. And some of the stories that you have told about trying to find a man have been, and that's what I want to share here. And I just really want to put the humor into this, because if you're out there and you're one of these people that thinks that they need a relationship, the first question I would ask you is, what have you decided you need a relationship for? Because when you start to look at needing a relationship based on to fulfill like a need that that you think you're lacking, or there's a scarcity, it's like, it's not a great place to start. It's like, what if you had all of you, and then if you desire, then you can actually add a relationship to your life. So I just want to, there's a little, you sent me this rough first chapter of the book that you were writing, and I actually think you should continue to write it, Justine. I think it could be really hilarious and very helpful to so many people. But you said at the beginning, I feel like I'm at an AA meeting. My name is Justine, and I'm a self-help junkie. From walking on hot coals to NLP, dancing with women naked, to crawling on my hands and knees like a cat purring to awaken some kind of sexual energy. I've been there, done that, and brought the t-shirt. And you continue on about like looking for all these different things, right? But the thing that you really desired is looking for a relationship. Like, to me, you always went to the wrongness of not being in a relationship. So do you first want to talk about that for me?
And I think you nailed it. I felt incomplete without a relationship. Like, I was always the single one. I remember asking like some of my friends, like, I didn't understand why they wouldn't set me up with someone, like, because they were in a relationship. Actually, most of my friends were in a relationship. I'm like, why won't you set me up with someone? Or isn't there any friends? Or I really was that desperately single. And I think you were saying, oh, do you want to come on a podcast and talk about being single? And she said, no. You said, no, it's desperately being single. And that nailed it. Like, I really was desperately single. And I did make it a wrongness. And I wish I knew that question that you just asked before, like, what do you need a relationship for? Because I didn't even know that question. And that could have like shortcut probably 10, 15 years of my life. Like, I always remember being single. My brother was married with 2 kids. My friends were all in relationships. But I realized, like, I was looking last night and flicking through Instagram, and I saw some of the people that I did date. And I was desperately trying to hold on to them, even though they were so wrong for me. But I just cut off my awareness with that. And there was probably about 8 guys and that I did that with, and that they wouldn't want me. And that made me feel like so wrong. And I remember going to see a psychic and just saying, please, like, will he get back together? Like, will he, like, trying to convince the psychic to tell me the answer that I wanted. Right. But they weren't right for me looking back in hindsight. But I don't know what it was that I was just trying to control or hang on or want this person to want me so badly, and then they didn't, and then I thought something was wrong with me, which is what you just said.
So is that the bait? Because I mean, when you say like your brother was married, you friends, etc., like I had so many of my friends that were in relationships for years, but it didn't bother me. Like, I mean, I definitely had my sluttish days, that's for sure, and but I was like not looking for that. But what do you think it was for you that you were that desperately single? Like, you were like, you wanted to change that out. You were not like, I mean, you've said it twice now that you're going to the wrongness of you. What was that? Or what sparked that? Something you grew up with, point of view around you, etc., or something different?
Yeah, I don't think I thought I was successful until I had the relationship, maybe and it could have been in my mum's eyes, but I was also, maybe it's that. Like, I didn't think I would be successful. There was always that niggling, like, I felt different and weird, and I just didn't relax into that space of being single. Like, in hindsight, I could have had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is now,
I love you. In hindsight, now that you've got 2 kids and a partner, and I remember when I had to do quarantine in the hotel for 2 weeks in Australia after I'd been overseas, and you were like, oh, 2 weeks in a hotel with no kids or anything and just being able to sleep and watch Netflix, that sounds amazing, and getting people to bring you food.
Really, truly, like, now I do have the relationship and I do have the kids, and it's wonderful, and its challenges too. But I think, I really tried everything to change the being single. It felt like I had a disease. It really did. Like, I felt like something was so wrong with me. I remember going to a feng shui expert, and she was a color expert. She was like, you're wearing the wrong color undies. Like, you've really got to wear red and stop wearing this black and stop wearing these gladiator sandals, because that had a certain meaning. And so she said, and also I want you to buy a red rose, and in the middle of the night, like, go and just drop the petals and leave a trail back to the house. And I did it. Everything. Like, I was that desperately seeking. Like, I went to a thing called Dancing in the Divine because I thought I didn't have enough of the feminine energy. And I remember these girls looking at them, like almost having like orgasms to this guy called Nitiyama. And then I couldn't do it. So I felt something was wrong with me. But like it was over a weekend, like six weekends you had to pay for. And I got to the second one. I was like, I can't do this anymore. The first one, it was like a scene out of Sirens, like you had to take your clothes off and swim in a lake naked with other ladies. And then the second one, yeah, they wanted you to dance naked in a tent in front of other women. And I just got to that and I was like, this is crazy. I can't do this anymore. But I really was willing to do anything.
Yeah, I know. You in the book, that like the rough chapter that you sent, you said the truth is I was willing to do anything to find a man.
Yeah. And I almost wish everyone had these tools of access and relationship done differently, and these questions, because that wasn't even in my world to ask that questions. Like, I watched The Law of Attraction, The Secret, and I left the space in my closet for a man, like, and the space in the bed. Like, I did everything. I went to Anthony Robbins, walked on hot coals, like a lot of hard work here in hindsight too. And I would love people who are going through that to know that there is something totally different. I don't know if it's a young thing, me watching romantic Hollywood movies, thinking life would be complete when I had that, the husband. So yeah, I really look back at it now, and I don't know if I was crazy, but it did felt like that something was wrong with me.
Well, let me take, because I'm talking about the feng shui thing as well. Like, I remember when I broke up with my ex and he moved out of the house, and we have, amazing bathroom with a his and her sink, right? And so I immediately went and just like filled up the bathroom. And one of the sinks, I have this, all my makeup in one of the sinks. And I remember you seeing a video of it and you were just like, oh my God, you can't do that. That's not inviting a man. And I was like, what? And you were like, if you fill that sink up with makeup, that's not inviting a man into your life. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, I love having the makeup in the sink, and my wardrobe, like right now in my house, it's a little bit overkill, I think, because my wardrobe, my walk-in wardrobe that I used to share with my ex is now filled with all my clothes. The guest bedroom downstairs is filled with my clothes. The office that I have has all my jackets in it, like in the cupboard as well. I basically have a lot of clothes. I need to go through them all, but it's like, with your theory, I have no room for a man to come and live with me. And yet I'm actually not asking for that. So it's like, and I have, I have different things going on in my life right now that I don't usually talk about on podcasts, etc. But it's not as though it's rejecting men. It's also, for me, it's like, I know what works for me. And in truth, with everything that I do and traveling the world and all the classes, etc., in this 10 seconds, in this moment in my life, I'm not asking to get into a relationship where I'm living with someone in my house again. It's like, I love living on my own. I absolutely love it. And I also love sharing my bed with someone, a few nights a week or something, or going away for a few days or something like that. But it's, I think also, like you saying that you would do anything to get a man. And I know there's a lot of women out there like that too. And a lot of men out there like that with a woman as well. And most men will do relationship in order to get sex, and most women will do sex in order to get relationship. Now, I know that some of you guys listening out there go, well, I'm more like a man or I'm more like a woman. I get that. But as a general rule, it's like, that's how most people choose relationship and sex. And what I'm asking is, what if there was a totally different possibility available? Like, totally different possibility available. And then you are so okay with everything that you are, so that when you actually are asking for somebody to come along, it's a contribution, and it's almost like this party and this celebration of this joy that you have with somebody else, rather than the necessity. Like, when you spoke about going to that clairvoyant and sort of going, are we going to get back together, or what's this going to happen? It's like that energy of need is where I see a lot of people function from, and never sort of ends up creating anything greater.
Well, it always repels, I guess. And I was broken up with so many times. And I just remember that painful feeling, like walking around the cliffs of Bondi in Sydney, where I grew up, and just going, I just want to jump off this like cliff. Like, that's how painful the heartbreak was for me. And that's how significant I made it. And again, like, you know, and I was like, not again. I even remember bursting out crying to my mum one day going, I can't do this anymore. Like that heart when you get broken up with. And yeah, I just wonder what ease could people have with breakup, or even creating exactly what you were talking about, creating a relationship on your terms. Like, okay, no, a few nights a week. Why does it have to be 7 nights a week in bed? Like, this is what I love about what you teach, is just like, no, you just create your own reality and how you want a relationship, and also asking questions, because I never stopped to ask the question, like, did I actually want a relationship? Because otherwise I would have been in one, right? So
yeah, I know. And that's I mean, that's a really interesting question. So if you're listening right now, ask yourself, it's like, truth, do you actually desire a relationship? And you know, relationship, the word relationship, the actual meaning of it means the distance between two things. So what you're actually asking for too is to create this distance, rather than, I mean, at the risk of, I grew up a Catholic, so when I say communion, I also think of First Communion, but it's like being in communion. And being in communion is like, you know, like when I just went for a run today, and you know, there's all these butterflies and the way they're interacting and engaging with the flowers, and you know, and then there was a cow that got loose, which is very funny. And you should see, she was eating all the flowers and everything around the house. I pinged the owners because I was like, dude, this cow is like, she's not going anywhere. But she was just like, yeah, I'm on the good side of the fence. But it was like, but the communion with nature and the animals and the way they are. And to me, it's like, you know, being in that beautiful synchronization with somebody that doesn't function from a lack or a scarcity or a need. It's from this contribution that will always create something greater by every choice you're both making.
yeah. And even when I was looking on Instagram last night, and an ex who I dated that I really wanted to be married with came up, I was just like, oh my fucking God, I'm so glad I am not with this person. He was mean, and I never saw the meanness and not kind to me on my body. Like, I choose a lot of people that were just like, yeah, not kind to me. And it wasn't until, you know, I started listening to you and reading your book and just really asking for someone to show up, like, rather than there was a surfer and tall, dark and handsome, but to ask for like someone that's kind. And like, I'm really thoughtful all the time, and someone that was thoughtful. And it's amazing what shows up. Like, I have someone that is not a surfer, actually doesn't know how to swim. So it wasn't on my list, like, of like, oh yeah, I'll be with a surfer. Like, it's the opposite, but the energy of the kindness, and that he will do anything to fight for him and his family unit to keep that together. Like, I think I've not judged my body since I've been with my partner right now, like my husband right now. And I'm so grateful for that, because before I was so like jumping on those scales, making sure I had to be, you know, under 60 kilograms was the perfect weight. No, I'm like way over that, but I'm so happy. Like, I've never judged my body for 10 years, pretty much. Like a little bit after being pregnant, because, you know, you've got the jelly belly, but apart from that, and I'm so grateful for that, at the moment, for me, I don't have someone that's breaking their neck to look at another girl. Like, and if you did, it would be fine too, but I feel so secure and safe. And I realized before I didn't at all. Like, I was always had like, it's because I'm not brunette, it's because I'm not blonde, or it's because I'm not like this, or I don't wear the right clothes. So again, going back to like, yeah, how do you,
well, one of the things that you wrote, I'm just going to see if I can find it, is you were saying that it's like, you know, my thighs aren't the right size, sort of thing, you know, always starting the diet. And it's like, yeah, that it's your brunette, you're not blonde. And it's like looking at, I guess everything is the opposite. Yeah, my thighs, are they too athletic? My hair color, is it because I'm a brunette? My personality, am I really just that boring with guys? My sensuality, am I one of those frigid girls my friends used to talk about in our teenage years? You know, am I ever going to meet anyone? Will my life turn out happily ever after? Does the one exist, or am I destined to be single my whole entire life? And it's interesting the way you write that, am I destined to be single my entire life? Like, that is a jail sentence, or it's a burden, rather than it's a choice. And to me, I mean, myself and my ex, Brendan Watt, we wrote the book Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? And we had it into a question because we desired people to have choice. So it's not wrong. So for somebody like yourself, Justine, years ago, that may be listening to this going, but I've been doing all those things and I've been da 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 da. What's some stuff like that, from what would you tell your younger self now?
That everything's going to be okay and just to chill the F out because, I think that, and just like if I knew those basic questions, like if you really break it down just to asking a question, like, do you really want one? Do you really want a relationship? Exactly the title of your book. I don't think I did because I was having fun, like being able to go to LA every, now and again. I didn't want to be tied down if I really think about it. And I would say, yeah, everything's going to be okay. Enjoy it. Enjoy being single. Go out there, be on Tinder, whatever you want to do, and not making it significant, having fun, because I guess once you're in a relationship, it is different. It's like, this is kind of another chapter and it's different. And yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying where I am right now. But yeah, I would just say enjoy where you are and don't make it significant, and buy the Relationship Are You Sure You Want One book, because there's so many tools in there about
We've also got Relationship Done Different Classes, which I think when this launches, my next one starts in a day or two. So check that out. And we'll have it all in the show notes, etc. as well. But I would just like to add too that and I know it's interesting when you are really strongly functioning from somewhere, like you think that you're going to be better off if you have a man or you have a woman in your life. I mean, a lot of people do the same thing with money. They'll be like, well, I'll be happy when I have money. Like, I'll be happy when this, I'll be happy when, and it's like, no, you actually get to wake up each day and choose happiness. You get to, wake up each day and choose joy and choose to be okay with you. And to, as you said, enjoy it, enjoy you. Like, if you're truly choosing something greater, then today is the worst day you're going to have, because every single day after that, it just gets better and greater and better and greater. And yes, a lot of the times things will get really uncomfortable, because when you start to have a look at stuff and you start to break things down and just go, okay, what's actually really going on here? It's like all the emotional stuff that you've decided, that you've been defending about, you've been avoiding, etc., having a look at. And then when you start to have a look at and you're like, oh, wow, what's here? And then you don't have to have these limitations. You don't have to have the judgments in place. There's such a different possibility available, but you have to choose it. It's like, in Access Consciousness, we have the tools, we have the processes, we have so many books. It's like, there's lots of different things that you can do, but essentially what it comes down to is you got to choose.
Yeah, and I remember a big part as you're talking, I didn't realize this until I was reading Dane Heer's book, Being You Changing the World. He talks about getting into a relationship or into a car. You kind of start cutting off pieces of yourself until there's actually nothing left. And that's what I did in every relationship. Like, I would so give up the things that I loved doing because I was trying to change myself to fit what I thought that they wanted. And even said what I thought that they wanted on a date. Like, I was so not even me. So I think that is another big one. And advice to your younger self is just to totally be you. Like, you don't have to change, because the person that ends up loving you will like loving all those sides. And another thing is, you always talk about those 5 elements of intimacy. Like, if I look back on it, I don't think I ever really had that with myself. I was doing all the things that I thought would get me out of being single. Like, I bought the Why Men Love Bitches book. I saw the psychics. I saw the feng shui. I did all the courses, but nothing changed. And the 5 elements of intimacy that you talk about, that honor, gratitude, trust, allowance, vulnerability, like having that with yourself. I think if I looked back in hindsight, I didn't have that.
So what she's referring to is the 5 elements of intimacy. And one of the things that I know I've spoken about it in previous podcasts, I used to write them on Post-it notes and put them on my mirror. And it's gratitude, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and honor. And every single night, brushing my teeth and in the morning, I would POC and POD, which is the, point of creation, point of destruction, of where I was not willing to be vulnerable with myself today, or trusting of myself, or in allowance, gratitude, honoring, etc. All of that, the 5 elements of intimacy. Because I think a lot of the times we try and look for that outside of ourselves to be validated, outside, rather than going, hey, you know what, I'm good, I'm actually good. It's like, who do you think about before you choose? What if it's you? What if that's not being selfish? What if that's actually okay? And it's interesting, one of the topics that we just spoke about yesterday at the 7-day, and I'm going to bring it up now, I'm definitely going to be talking about it in my Relationship Done Different class, is the animation. And when we talk about animation, like you've got animated movies, etc., and it's like this energy, you're bringing something that is dead to life. And how many people, including myself, have chosen a partner that was like required to be animated in order to be brought to life? So you spend your whole life, your whole relationship sort of like feeding, it's like a mother, like still breastfeeding to someone for years and years and years and years, because you're just like giving them all the energy so that they can be brought to life. It's like, well, what if we no longer did that? What if we no longer chose that? You could choose it just because you're actually choosing it, but not based on this necessity that you must bring dead to life.
Yeah. And it was also like, when you're talking about that type of person, when I've been doing my homework, when you talk about the winners, losers, and no counts in a relationship, I would always go for the person that was so not good for me, or the bad boys, or the ones that I knew would never commit to a relationship. There was something about the accomplishment, or it gave me a little high that I felt good about myself for a second. Like, oh, I got them. And usually it was when I had to be so drunk also, like, and I've been looking back at that a lot, choosing that person that would always reject me.
Yep,
and
me too.
Yeah. And I guess looking at that now, like your question, going back to what would you say to your younger self, it's like, what if you choose the opposite of what you usually go for? Because there lies the energy of the kindness and the thoughtfulness. And I guess it's just, what are you desiring? Go back to that list.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you say that, a lot of people go, oh yeah, I'd love to ask for kindness, but would you? Yeah. Like I like you. It's like, I was always, going for the assholes, the people who judged me, the people who judged my body. Like that was like, be like, oh, they are wonderful. They are beautiful. Like I must have them, and it's like, why? I must have an asshole, and that's what I would go for. And then when I started asking for people who were kind to show up, I remember I hooked up with this guy in California. And actually, it was based on a friend saying to me, if you want to find out what kind is, you should be with this guy, right? And so I did my homework and I did that, and then he was so kind. He was just amazing. And the next morning though, I went, I've got to walk down the street. I'll be back in a second, and I rang my friend and I went, you have to help me. And they went, why, what's going on? And I said, I want to kill him. He's so kind. And I realized that I was so not willing to receive the kindness that he was being. I wanted to just be like this demon bitch from hell to him because he was kind. And I went, holy shit. Luckily, with Access Consciousness and all the tools, I'm actually asking to be a better, greater person, be me each and every day. So I'm not looking to create the unconsciousness or the anti-consciousness. I'm actually asking, what awareness do I have here? And what can I change here in order to create more consciousness? So that's where I was fine. But I realized I want to kill him because he's kind. And I went, holy shit, I am more willing to receive judgment than I am willing to receive kindness. Now that was many, 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 many years ago. And I worked on changing that.
That's huge. We do push away the ones that are nice to us. Like if I look back, I'm like, oh, he was so sweet. Like, and I just fully rejected him. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you do not have to do what Justine and myself did. And it's like, what you can do is have a look at it and go, okay, am I rejecting all the kindness in the world? And am I, bringing forward all the mean, ugly, like violent people rather than the kindness and the caring and the nurturing? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive what it is you're actually choosing, and know that you can choose something different. We destroy and uncreate it. Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. And that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which you can find out more in the show notes in Access Consciousness, the clearingstatement.com, but on accessconsciousness.com as well. Because it's like hitting your head against a brick wall and doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's like, you know, what's your body asking for? Is your body asking for someone to judge it, or is your body asking to be with somebody who's kind and caring and nurturing? And when they touch your body, it's just like, oh, like you said, that is amazing that for 10 years, you haven't been judging your body.
No.
Based on the partner you're with, has no judgment of you and your body. It's like, wow, how does it get any better than that?
Totally. Yeah. And being like those other guys that really do, like my sister's husband, who she's broken up with, I remember he came to visit us, and just like his neck was out the window checking out other girls. And even James said something to me about it. And I was like, oh, far out. I'm so lucky that, I mean, not that I would really care at all, but I just think it's, yeah, I feel very safe where I am right now, and it's been able to let me, I guess, yeah, grow in other ways too. So yeah.
Can I just give a hint though? Because if you because I love perving on guys, it's like, and I'll perv on girls too. And
yeah,
so instead of in a relationship where you actually have to hide that, it's like, what if, and this is a tool, ladies, it's like, what if you pointed out, you know, all the women that were walking by and go, check that one out, that one, what do you like about her? And it's not a trick. You cannot do this to trick your partner. Okay. It's more like, you are the one that like that. If other ladies are turning them on, great, but you're the one that gets to take them home.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago with my ex, we were watching a movie and it had Cameron Diaz in it. And I was commenting about how, you know, hot she was. And I was like, because she looks great, you know. And I said something and I was like, do you think she's hot, or something like that? Like I asked him a question about it, and he looked at me and he didn't say anything. And I went, do you? And I was like, don't you? And he looked at me again. He went, and he was like, is this a trick? He goes, am I going to get in trouble? And I went, why would you get in trouble for thinking Cameron Diaz was hot? You know, and I was literally like, I don't get this. But his previous relationship, he said his ex would have set him up for that sort of comment and just like nailed him, and just like, and not talking to him, yelled at him, screaming at him, you always want somebody else, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm literally just asking you if you think she's hot. So use it as a tool as well. Like if you find someone and it's like, then be like, hey, you know, check her out. Isn't she hot? And then you get to take them home. Like, what if relationship is not about excluding everything and everyone else? Yeah. I'm not saying you have to go shag everything else at all. It's like, you know, but it's like, enjoy everything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's such a playful energy that I'm definitely going to do that home play. So
yeah. I mean, there's definitely there was Channing Tatum. I remember my ex always used to go, your boyfriend's on the TV. So I was always like, he's just so hot, you know. And it was like, but why not?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, seriously, are we bred to just be attracted to one person our entire life?
Totally.
You might choose to have sex with one person for, you know, majority of your life, but heck, I mean, there was even, you make that joke and you go, I mean, I'm straight. I really like men. I like men's bodies. I like playing with their bodies. You know, I don't like, you know, whatever. It's like, I'm straight. But, you know, when you meet that female every now and then, you go, damn. And it's like, she might be someone I'd cross over for, you know, but I'd make a joke about it. Like there's someone the other day and I was like, she's fucking beautiful. Like, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny because James always jokes about that, because I seem to attract like lesbians all the time. And so he always thinks that like he doesn't have to worry about him. It's more me. So I think at one stage when I had my office in Sydney and I had a few girls, like, yeah, it was just funny. He's like, of course they are.
That's funny. So just if you're listening too, don't forget that you can catch us on YouTube now. You can see me and Justine on there. Or, you know, obviously we're on Spotify, we're on all those places. And like I said, I have a class coming up in a day or two. I'm not sure when this is launching, called Relationships Done Different. And this class is the last class I'll be doing that has no prerequisites with Relationships Done Different. And it's, look, it's a fun topic to explore, and it is a tough topic to explore because, as we've been saying right at the beginning, Justine, you know, you came in at this with, I'm wrong if I'm not in a relationship, you know, like that was the wrongest thing you could do or be. And I see a lot of people out there like that. Or they're in a relationship with someone because they'd rather have a relationship than no relationship. And relationships are different. Is your relationship with everything and everyone. Like it's with the people you work with, it's your friends, your family, parenting, all of that as well. So if you're interested in that, it will be in the show notes and you can check that out. And is there anything else, Justine, that you would like to say to people? Any tools, questions, etc. Give them a little bit more freedom with what they're currently choosing.
In terms of if they're feeling wrong being single or
anything, what just pops?
Yeah, well, no, I was just thinking like these tools that you're talking about are just so refreshing. Like if I was almost going, how do I empower my daughter, like who's only 5, but when she's older, to not buy into this fairy tale that we're watching on TV, that she can actually choose whatever she wants. Like I would love to be that and have conversations that were never spoken about, when we were growing up. And I just think all these tools, like if the teenagers knew about it before, I think it would definitely change how they deal with being in a relationship and the heartbreak that you don't have to be heartbroken. Because I remember just getting so depressed, like almost suicidal, which is crazy if I think back on it. But so many people do go, oh my gosh, I'm just like, it's painful. So how do we get these tools to teenagers and everyone?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say one thing, that if that's you out there, there is something that we have in Access Consciousness, and it's called bars, and it's a hands-on process, 32 different points on your head. And I'm going to say, if you're in that place where you have broken up with someone, like, I get it. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And yet we like you said, some people just go down this really extremely hard road and navigating it that way, rather than take a breath and there's something else that's possible. Like you do have more of you. Like, what if you could fly and you could soar? So I'm going to recommend that if that is you, go find an Access Consciousness practitioner, facilitator, etc., and get your bars run and see if it starts to relax you and your body more so. And then actually also ask, because a lot of people grieve this non-relationship, ask yourself, what am I grieving? Because a lot of the times, like women, it seems to be like this implant as well, that it's that the man is there to look after you. Well, nowadays it's like we're pretty good at looking after ourselves, and yet I love being treated like a lady and love being treated like a woman. I love it, absolutely love it. And yet I don't need that. So have a look at what is it that you're grieving. Like for me, the last breakup that I had, the thing that I missed the most, which was odd, was going to bed with them. And I'm not even talking sex. It was literally just like being in bed with my ex, because I loved lying next to him, like falling asleep next to him, waking up next to him. It was one of my favorite things of the day. And that's when I was like, oh, and then pretty soon I learned to starfish on the bed and actually enjoyed that as well, though. So there's always something, like, I know I always say it, there's always something else possible, but there is. But you've got to be willing to, like sort of pull apart that sludge and pull apart that curtain and see what's on the other side.
Yeah, and the universe seriously has your back. It always works out for the greater. That's what I've worked out. Like it really, truly, truly does. And you look back on it just going, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to be with my last relationship for anything. It's like nothing. It's like, I'm really grateful the time that we had together, but I'm like, oh my goodness, my life just gets better and better and greater and greater. So it's like, how does it get any better than this? And even ask those questions. How does it get any better than this? What else is truly possible now? And then create your day, like start your day. It's like, don't sit there in the oh my goodness, it's like my life is over because I don't have this relationship anymore. Or my life is over because I'm single. It's like, no, your life is only over if you choose for it to be over. You, like I said before, are the one that gets to choose to wake up and choose to be happy, choose to be joyful, choose to have this exhilarating life that we can call living.
Yeah, so you don't need to have to wear red undies or see psychics or dance naked with other women. You can
Red undies are great. I love red undies. They, can be you can wear crotchless undies. I mean, isn't that inviting somebody?
That's true.
Did I just poke you, Justine? You need to get some crotchless undies. James will be very happy.
Now you're making me blush.
So James will thank me.
He will.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for being on here, Justine. You are always a pleasure to talk to, and I really am grateful for your candidness in everything that you've chosen throughout your life. So it is truly a gift.
Yeah, I feel like you've really watched me from being single when you met me to like dating to actually, I remember you giving me advice with one of the guys I was dating, like an etiquette, because he was really into etiquette and I didn't really know which way to place the forks and knives, and you'd done Gindelli Watkins. So I'm so grateful for you. Over the years, you've kind of been there on my journey. And now
we even spoke about sex tips, but we won't talk about that in the podcast. I don't know. Head down if you're listening.
Moving on. Simone's got a class.
Yeah, moving it on. Let's move along, folks. Nothing to see here. So again, thank you so much, Justine. And I so enjoyed seeing you in Florida, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMillises.com and follow me on Instagram at SimoneMillises, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.